Okay.
I will call the December 16th regular meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order, and I will recognize Councilman Younger, if you will, mention the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this time that we can gather tonight and try to make decisions that's best for this town. Lord, I pray that you bless the ones who attended tonight and bless them as they return to their homes. In your name we ask. Amen.
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 And next item is the reading of the minutes. Is there a motion for minutes to be approved as written?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor then of the minutes to be approved as written, do so with show of hand. Next item is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, is there, whoa, that's a short briefing there. It's like,
I know. I passed out the little budget for you guys to look at because we're not going to discuss it for another 2 weeks. It'll be after the holidays, but it's just something to look at and start thinking about. Also, the town hall and the police department offices next week were closed Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So, that's all I have.
any questions of Mr. Brown? None. Next item is the receipt of communications, and we have a presentation for our fiscal year 2013-14, which was concluded June 30th, 2014, and I guess it's our CPA firm, is that correct? Highsmith and Highsmith is going to give us a presentation. And what's your name?
My name's Todd.
That's Todd.
Todd, okay.
Yes, sir.
And if you'll just wait a second, we'll...
All right.
And we're just at the receipt of communication.
All right.
I hadn't heard from you, so I just assumed you
I tried to call you and tell you I was a couple minutes away.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, Town Council, Mr. Brown, thank you for having us here again this year to work with you in doing the audit. It was a pleasure, once again, working with Mr. Brown and Ms. Stanley. They did a great job getting us everything we needed to get the audit done. So kudos to them. A big thanks from us. Okay, looking at the audit report, the financial statements, and I want to start with page 1, the auditor's report, opinion letter. The most important piece in the audit is this. It says we've audited the company's financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation of these statements, and it's our job to express an opinion based upon our audit procedures. Once we completed all of our audit procedures and went through all the numbers and our tests and all the controls and everything we went through, it's our opinion that these financial statements are presented fairly. So it's a clean opinion for the town. Pages 3 through 8 is the management's discussion and analysis report. I'm not going to go through that in detail. I just encourage you to spend just a few minutes taking a look through there. There's some good information from year to year as far as comparative numbers go. The one statement I wanted to look at was on page 9. It's the statement of net position, as we call it, the old balance sheet. Our current assets were $5,259,679, of which $4,865,968 was cash. Our capital assets were $6,583,867. So our total assets for the town were $11,843,546. Our current liabilities were $535,480. Our accrued compensated absences were $297,843. So the total liabilities of the town were $833,323. Our net position for the town is broken down into 3 categories. Invested capital assets is $6,508,867. Our restricted net position is $37,539. And our unrestricted, meaning we can spend this money as we need to support town operations, is $4,388,817. The only other item I wanted to mention was for the year ended 2014, there was a net increase in our position of $528,000. So it was a good year for the town.
Was.
Any questions?
When you get to recommendations, let me know.
Okay. All right, that's in the next report.
Okay.
I don't usually go through the financial statements in detail. Most of the stuff in here is information for the town, as far as the county principals, how we prepare the report, how the town accounts for all the town's money and assets. The other report we gave you is what we call our report to town council. The main things in this report is our only estimate is for depreciation expense, because it is an estimate. We did not encounter any difficulties with management in going through our audit procedures. There were no disagreements with management. We didn't use any other accountants on the engagement. And to really, when we look at significant deficiencies of the town, the segregation of duties, because we only have 2 really employees in the county department, the town's doing as much as they can to make sure those duties are segregated. But we do encourage the town council to stay involved in reviewing monthly financial reports and stay involved as far as the budgeting process goes for the town. Okay, questions?
Where's the summary at on this?
The summary,
Right, the financial summary on this. Where's that? What page is that on?
the page 9 is a summary of the balance sheet.
Page 9.
Yes, sir. The statement of net position. And really the best page to look at for revenues and expenses is on page 31. And that's our comparison to our budget for the year.
Page 31.
Which pretty much shows business licenses and local
Yes.
option sales tax.
Yes, ma'am. It breaks down the revenues by our major categories. And you can see for the year, the variance with the final budget, we were $531,000 over budget in revenues. And for expenditures, we were $124,000 below budget in our expenses.
That's real good, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. That's very good. Anytime we see that, we say yes. So we see a lot of
Because we've
towns
tried
and
real
entities like
hard.
that.
We've tried. You want to see this, George?
Later.
Okay.
Any questions? Well, it is good. I think it is a good when we, and I don't know what the percentage is, 124 over the 45 or 47, but that's still better than spending more as
Yes,
far
sir.
as some governments in Washington and wherever else. So I think that's good for the staff and the department heads who do that, keep a tight line.
Yes, sir.
on
One
it.
other thing we look at too is in our unrestricted net position, that $4 million, I look at it and say how many months do we have of general fund expenditures saved up? And we have 11 and a half months or right at 11 months worth of general fund expenses on hand. So I think that's very good for the town.
Do we need 18 or is 11 sufficient or?
I think 11 is sufficient. We see some towns that, have 3 to 6 months.
Okay,
So I think 11 is just fine.
good, okay.
Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Brown.
And next, we have advanced disposal. Yeah, pardon? Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Brown. I came tonight, first off, wish you all a Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season. And to bring you up to date on some of the things that we're doing in advanced disposal and how that has affected things in the past few months. As Mr. Brown can tell you, you never know from one day to the next where I'm going to be. I believe the last time you called me, I was in Indiana coming down the road. But any time you call me, I've always been responsive and gotten the problem taken care of. So, and that will continue going forward. But over the past 3 months, we've implemented some changes in our operations that you don't see, but you will notice some effect from it. We put in each one of our vehicles in our fleet a system called the drive cam system. And what the drive cam system is basically a video monitor that shoots out of the front of the truck. It also has a video camera that shoots down on the driver as he's driving, and that's linked through GPS technology and cellular technology back to our office, where the supervisor or the manager can actually look and see where that truck is at any given time. If he's in an accident, we can see how that accident transpired, whether or not he was paying attention, whether something ran out in front of him or whatnot. It's a real safety issue for us, but it also gives us the ability to see where that truck is serviced, sort of like a breadcrumb trail that shows up on a map. It shows he goes down this street, goes up this street, and it gives us a good detailed map of where he's worked. Along with that is a learning curve that these guys have gone through. So we've had a little issue there, and we've had some training that we put these guys through, and we had some misses because these guys didn't realize how this thing worked, and it was just a learning curve for a short period of time. But now we've got it under control, and I think it's working great for all of our drivers as well as the management. Another thing we did was we took all of our drivers and put them through a new set of training. Over time, people get lackadaisical. They do this job day in, day out, and they start slacking on stuff they shouldn't be slacking on. So we brought everybody in, and our management crew has set them down, and we've gone through intensive training on how to correct misstops before you get out of town, how to avoid having misstops, how to avoid losing your place on a route, and that sort of thing. So all that has helped us to eliminate a lot of those problems. But furthermore, I wanted to be here basically to kind of give you an update on where we're at, what we're doing, and how that may or may not affect you, and to answer any questions you may have concerning our service and what we do for you in the community. So I'll open the floor up for you if you have any questions or concerns.
Well, I mean, our biggest complaint still gets to be the behind the house service, and some days the trash cans don't make it back in the driveway, they're out in the middle of the road. I mean, those are kind of like the two biggies.
And that's where I told you we're trying to address that. Guys, the drivers, they sometimes just, I don't care if it's us or if it's any other company out there, you're going to have that occasionally. But we try to address that through proper training. We brought those guys in. In fact, I was over in Batesburg last week and had heard some of the same concerns that trash cans were put in the middle of driveways when they should have been set to the side. That afternoon, they went back and they pulled all the drivers out of that Batesburg route and set them down and said, look, this is what we've got, this is what they're seeing, and we can't have it anymore. And then, of course, that corrected the problem. So if that's a problem here, and if you have that kind of problem, we address it right away. And I think we've addressed the backdoor issue dramatically since you called me last month. So I actually have the route supervisor out here lighting the route to make sure that those back doors are serviced.
Well, it's like you said, when I call you, we get the problem fixed, but then 3, 4, 6 weeks later, it might creep up again.
It could, if we had, in this case, on the route driver that was on this route, we had a new driver that came in, the other one left. These guys, they'll jump ship for $1 more an hour. So, but you hope you get a good one, and most of the time we get good guys, and a lot of them stay with us. But in Irmo's case, that particular driver did step down. We had a new driver on the route, which I think was the problem behind that.
How's the recycling effort going?
That was something. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to bring that up. Everywhere I go, now this is no joke, everywhere I go and I present a recycling program to a town, I use Irmo as my example. What you guys have done in recycling in this community is phenomenal. We have gone from a 25% collection rate in the old bins to almost a 70% collection rate in recycled material. What that means is 70% of the waste that was going into the landfill is now not going in the landfill. And that makes a big difference. So everywhere I go and I present a recycling program, I automatically use you guys because you're like the benchmark. We don't see that anywhere else. And in the Midlands of South Carolina, I would have to say y'all are the top recycler that we service, especially in this state, in the Midlands of South Carolina. Columbia and Richland County and Lexington, they're growing and it's getting there, but Irmo was the benchmark. When we went to those 65-gallon carts, you guys just went out of it. Where we were rolling those trucks down through there, we were doing 1 truck of recycling, we're now doing 2 and packing those trucks out every time. So it's been a phenomenal success.
The people who walk the neighborhoods and all still comment on the colors, the navy blue and the bright green. I heard that even last weekend.
Well, I'm putting out starting Thursday, as a matter of fact, and I used Irmo as my example. Over in Prosperity, we're starting them out on the same carts, the same type of service, but I sold them that, letting them know, hey, this is what happened over in Irmo. You guys, you know, it can make a difference.
Yeah.
And it has, so, yeah. And even in our company, we have very few communities that see that kind of increase. So you're heads and shoulders above all the rest of the communities that we serve.
And you think a large part of that is the going to the large roll cart?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think people tend to recycle when all they have to do is throw it in the cart and roll it down the curb every week. Picking up that little tote and keeping it in the garage and filling it up and setting it out there and it blowing out and all that.
Yep.
Kind of deters them from doing it. But it's been a success here.
I'd like to thank you for all the community stuff y'all do. I know what you do in the community, and it's not just Arbor Day, it's other things too. And if people see it, notice it, and it's a very nice thing that you do.
Well, as you know, we believe in partnering with the communities we service, and Irmo is no exception. We have put a lot of money into different programs and sponsorships in the community, and we continue to do that, and will continue to do that. It means a lot to us when we can be a partner and help grow your community and help you do things within the community. So we appreciate it.
One of the things I wanted to ask, and I think Bob addressed it some, the house right behind us, the elderly lady with the curbside. So y'all fixed that by changing the drivers, I guess, in training. The other thing I get probably a fair amount of calls on is not just the trash can being in the driveway, but being in the road. And I know when that truck pulls up and the arm goes out and it picks it up out of somebody's yard and dumps it, when it goes back down, it doesn't necessarily go back to the exactly same place where it picked it up, or how does that work, or what can be done to eliminate that? Because I do get, I'd say probably every other week or every 3 weeks, people will call and sometimes same ones. The trash cans are still in the middle of the road. Can't y'all make them get them out of there?
Well, again, that's a training issue that we can address with the drivers to make sure that when that can goes up, misserviced, if that truck rolls a little bit, it's not gonna set back down in the same exact place, but if they do what they're supposed to do, it should come back down exactly where they picked it up at. But, and if they're running a truck, a rear load truck, they should roll them from where they pull them from and roll them right back there. But again,
Yeah, that may be area you're gonna need to, because some of them don't, I mean, they toss them and sometimes they get them in the yard, sometimes they just close. But, and I think somebody called me the other day, and I can't remember if it was last week, about the yard trash. A resident over in Beaufort Gate, I think, had X amount of trees cut or limbs, and they were cut into the right, say, length or whatever. But I think he said they hadn't been picked up, and either 1 week or 2 weeks had been skipped. And I asked him if they'd been tagged, you know, because I didn't know if they'd been, because they were over 4 foot or the pile was bigger than 4 foot and all that. And he said, no, it hadn't been tagged. And he said there had been some neighbor's leaves that were picked up. And I kind of felt like, and I don't know, but with all the leaves being done recently, I think we had 26 bags last week and 20-something this Sunday. So we had a bunch. And I don't know if the truck gets filled and it comes back and maybe it forgets where it ended, start, or how that. But,
and the only other thing I can think of is that it's an out of compliance pile. In other words, there's more there than what's supposed to be. And if there is, if it's a request, we can get it cleaned up. But, you know, I don't know, and without knowing the exact address you're talking about. Or
yeah, I'm not sure. It's one of those I gave you, but I can't remember exactly
I can't remember the address.
where it was right offhand. I just remember it was that way over. But that may be something y'all need to look at.
Well,
And
anytime you have any situation like that, feel free to call me, and
I usually call Bob and then let Bob go through that.
That's fine. Bob catches me no matter where I'm at. Whether I'm in Kentucky, in Tennessee, he'll catch me.
There's no limit on yard trash, is there?
Well, the limbs can't be, what, bigger than 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot, I guess.
The volume, there's no limit.
No.
The leaves, they can pick up as many bags as out there, yeah.
Well, if the truck gets full though.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll go dump and come back and finish running around.
But we've noticed sometimes that doesn't happen.
yeah, and I think that's where they, I don't know if they forget, and maybe they had, I don't say 3 streets to go, and it was late, and, you know. But that may be an area that we do get. But that's only a certain time of year when you got a bunch of leaves and tree limbs and that kind of stuff.
Well, like I said, anytime you have a problem like that, we try to address it. It shouldn't happen, but occasionally it does.
Does anybody else have any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is presentation by citizens for agenda items only. This is where anyone who wants to address Irmo Town Council about something that's on their agenda may do so at this time. And we just ask you to give us your name and address for the record. Does anyone want to address council? Seeing none? No unfinished business. Next item is new business. Appointments of a parliamentarian, Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker, yes, and I'll let you start.
Yeah, we sometimes we try to follow Robert's Rule of Orders when we do our meetings, and on several occasions I noticed that we are not following the Robert's Rule of Orders strictly. So I was wondering if, I know Mr. Moore is our adjunct parliamentarian. I don't know if he's officially our parliamentarian, but I'd like to officially make that announcement or make that recommendation that we appoint him as our parliamentarian, or whoever the attorney that we have on hand on that in the council, so that we can answer any questions that may come up during the meetings about the Robert's Rule of Orders, if we're following them or following them correctly.
Are they still on their iPad?
No.
Oh, that,
Well,
okay,
I mean, and
they were on the last one.
well, you can get them on the, you can do that little square thing and
Okay.
get them on there. as far as the Robert's rules, and we also have to do the state code, because that's part of it, and the town code, and also the state ethics is all part of it. We don't, or we haven't had one, and I don't know if Irmo's ever had one. I don't think there's probably one in the state of South Carolina that's actually certified.
I didn't say certified, I said make them a parliamentarian. I didn't care about his certification. That's one somebody to refer
Anybody can be a parliamentarian then, for that matter. I mean,
Well, I'm
anybody.
saying I want to make our attorney a parliamentarian.
Right. The only thing I'm saying is a couple problems with having one who isn't certified or isn't qualified, and no disrespect to Mr. Moore, but I don't think he is, because you have to know all the Robert's Rules of Order, and even in Robert's Rules of Order, a lot of them are inapplicable to an elected body, because we have certain other guidelines we have to follow through as far as how we run our meeting. Robert's Rules of Order is primarily for, I don't want to say a church group or a civic group, and all those groups that are not elected.
So we're not going to follow Robert's Rule of Orders then?
No, we have it in our ordinance, we do. But we also have to follow state law, we also have to follow the town ordinance, we also have to follow South Carolina state ethics rules of conduct. So there's a lot of stuff in there to know about which ones you have to and which ones you don't. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have one or if you don't have one. All of us, all together, really, each person should know them well enough, or at least the main basic things, so that we can all keep each other in check. We don't always. In fact, Robert's Rules of Order requires you to stand when you're, and it also requires you to not speak until you've been recognized, and then you're supposed to stand. Well, nobody's do that, and they don't do that. In Parliament, in England, I'm sure they do.
They do, yeah. But at
in
our
council,
age, if you don't let us speak when we think of it, we forget it.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of stuff that, according to even state code or Robert's rules, we should be doing that we don't necessarily do because of the informality. And the problem, I think, with the municipal association, you know, they'll tell you that either your town clerk or your town attorney should be, but they also should be qualified. And that puts a lot of burden on somebody to be qualified.
What do you mean qualified?
Well, you need to know them. And to be a parliamentarian, you need to know the parliamentary rules. And you got to know all of
Mr.
them.
Moore, do you know Robert's Rule of Orders?
It has been quite some while since I have read them. If you're going to do this, please don't make it effective until the next meeting so that I can read the rules and get back up to speed on them totally by the next meeting. But I have studied them, I'm familiar with them, I fairly well understand how they operate.
That's your book right there.
Yeah, I know. I just, but I have read Robert's Rules of Orders, I have studied it, but it's been a long, long time.
And you also, again, need to know the South Carolina Code of Law, the rules of conduct by the state ethics, and the town ordinance altogether. And it just puts a lot of burden on someone, and the bottom dollar is, no matter what whoever the parliamentarian says, they either have to be right or nobody has to listen to them. And if they don't, then it's just an answer. That's all they do is answer. They have no authority or jurisdiction, they just answer. And again, I don't care who it is, I don't think anybody should be, because I think we all should know them well enough that if we do make a mistake that you're talking about, and I don't think we make too many, I can probably think of one or two that I think is. But that's when we in the municipal association say the same thing. Everybody should know. Everybody should, at least the basic ones about motions and call the question and different other generic stuff like that. And if we don't, then we're really not doing our job as an elected official either.
So you don't have a problem appointing him?
I wouldn't vote, no, because again, no disrespect, but I don't think he's qualified. I don't think none of us are qualified. I think we all have to kind of do our best to keep up with it and read over it. And, I mean, I have to read through it all the time.
You think none of us are qualified to follow Robert's Rule of Orders, but that's what we follow?
No, I don't think none of us are qualified to be a parliamentarian.
Oh, okay.
And to be the voice.
I think we tried.
I mean, I think we
I think we tried.
keep up
No,
with
we
it
don't. I
ourselves.
mean, it seems like a lot of times that we follow it on some occasions, and some occasions we don't.
Voting and, yeah.
Right, and it's not right. I mean, either we're going to follow it or we're not going to follow it. If we're not going to follow it, that's fine.
Okay, then I'm putting a white wig on you.
And
Put a white hood on it?
White wig.
Oh,
This is the British Parliament.
oh, white wig,
Yes.
okay.
And a lot of municipalities don't have them because they're very difficult to keep up with which ones do you follow. Parliamentarian rules say that the mayor's not, or the presiding officer doesn't vote. State law says everybody on the council does. So there's a lot of that stuff that you can't really adhere to without knowing the other stuff as well.
So the question I'm trying to raise is, do we want to appoint, or do we want to have our town attorney as our parliamentary advisor, so that when we do stray from Robert's rules, or we stray from the way of the conduct of the meetings, we got somebody we can talk to or refer to and say, hey, what do you think about this procedure? Are we doing it right?
But if you don't know we strayed from the meetings, then you won't be able to ask the parliamentarian.
But I do know we did stray from the meetings, and there's a way to stop you from continuing on until we get it straight. How do we do that?
Well,
Without going to a parliamentarian or saying, somebody to say, hey, stop, we need to follow the rules.
that's where a council member has 2 or 3 options.
Yeah, what do we do?
You either call for a point of information or you call for a point of order.
But if you ignore it, what do you do?
You can't ignore a point of information or a point of order.
What you did.
When have I ignored a point of order?
A couple meetings ago, you ignored the point of order.
You didn't ask the point of order.
My point is this, is that how do we stop it if you want it?
You have to call for a point of order or a point of information.
And then that will stop the conversation?
Yeah.
And then you make your point. And then it's addressed, right or wrong.
He has to do that.
So what if you don't do it, though?
What if you call for a point of order? A point of order is one of the few things that can be, where you can interrupt the speaker. You call for the point of order, the presiding officer asks you what your point is, and then you ask your point. That's, I think this is out of order, blah, 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 whatever it may be. The presiding officer says yay or nay, and then if you don't like the answer, then you have to debate it. The council or the majority can, and again, that's all in the book. You should know that, everybody should know that. We shouldn't,
But you could also, because we are informal, you could also look at him and say, stop a minute, or I need this answer.
Well, you can call a point of order. That's basically what you should be
And
doing.
that's what I do.
But, and the municipal association has 2 or 3 big books and 2 or 3 what I call rules of orders for dummies. That's real short synopsis of here's the basics, and those are real easy to read, and they give you the basic things for municipalities. They take out the amendments, the call of the question, here's the little thing, this little ABC here.
Yeah.
It's real simple, it's real easy. This one's a little bit more. And you can also read the one Jake wants to read, that big one. But these 2 little books are probably, they go through Robert's rules and everything and condense it into what's really applicable to municipal government, not the House of Commons and the Parliament and the guy with the white wigs over there.
Mr. Mayor, shouldn't have this item been, a motion should have been made before we discussed it, or
Well, it's an appointment.
or discussion?
I mean, we can second the appointment, or we can make other appointments. I don't know. I'd like to appoint George Glassmeyer. I think he's probably knowledgeable too, but, so we have 2 appointments.
What's the pay?
No. Love and appreciation.
So any more appointments? Or any more comments? Are we ready to vote? So we have 1 appointment for Mr. Moore and 1 for Mr. Glassmeyer, unless he shakes his head no.
If nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
Okay, we'll scratch his name. So, all in favor of Mr. Moore to be our parliamentarian? And what'd you say? You wanted what?
Just if you're going to do that, I'm happy to do it for you. If that's what you want to do. But again, like you say, it would simply be advisory. But please don't have it effective until the next meeting, so I can at least get back up to speed on.
Well, one thing we could do was defer and let you look at whatever, and then come back to us and say, yes, I want to, or no, I don't.
I'll do whatever you ask me to do. if you ask me to do it, I'll do it.
Okay.
The question is whether we need one.
Yeah, and I really, again, believe that if everyone kind of learned the basics, then you'd be able to know whether something's out of line or not out of line, or raise a question or call it whatever. And technically, there's no such thing as call a question. You can look through that book until you're blue, and there's not in there. The Municipal Association tells you the same thing. You can't call a question. That's,
But
you
you
Can't call the question.
yeah, you can ask for a debate to be canceled, and that's technically what you should be doing. So if you go by Robert's Rules of Order, if you call the question, I could ignore it because that's not really applicable. But
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what an example.
well, that's because I know the rules and you don't. You should read them and then you know.
But you're trying to tell me that you can follow Robert's Rule of Order in that situation, but now in this situation, you're not going to follow it because you can't call a question. I mean, what the hell have we been doing for the last 3 years?
I don't know.
Even calling the question.
It's
She
not
called the
wrong.
question.
Yeah.
She called the question,
Yeah.
and you said, okay, we'll call the
And
question.
I have for you before too. I'm just saying.
So now you're saying you don't have to do
not. I don't have to, no. I could say, that's like.
I think that's probably what you're saying is regardless of what happens, you can make the decision. You don't want to listen to anybody.
Well, no, I'm just saying, if you're going to go by parliamentary rules, you ought to read them and then you ought to say,
But
okay, I want
he's
to.
never ignored one.
Yeah, I want
Every time
to call
somebody's
for whatever it
called.
technically says in there, close the debate or whatever it calls, I don't know. But that is a little bit too, I call it parliamentarian for us as an informal group, so, you know.
I'm just trying to keep the order, keep the civility of the meeting.
Well,
And I just wanted somebody to refer back to if there's a question on the actual way to do it. Can I refer to a parliamentarian and see if that's correct, the way we follow the order?
and we could do that, but you really couldn't even ask a parliamentarian unless you called for a point of order first. Technically, as our ordinance says, and it doesn't say that in Robert's rules, it says in our ordinance, you can't interrupt the speaker. So if somebody else is talking, and we do it all the time, I do it, you do it, we all do it. 'Cause like Kathy said, we can't remember stuff too long. But you technically can't. And if somebody were interrupting the speaker, yeah, I could ignore them all night long because they hadn't got the floor yet. But we don't do that a lot because it's a little bit too parliamentarian in my mind. I mean, we still do try to be a little bit informal, but we can start doing all that stuff we want to. I don't know that we really want to do that. But I think whether we appoint Jake or not, Jake should know. I think each of us should know too. Because we do need to know if something is out of order. And I think I can remember when I sat over there, and I think the mayor, I called it point of order one night, and he thought it was point of information. I said, no, it's point of order. But you just have to read that stuff and realize it. It's kind of like playing football. If you know the rules, you got a better chance of winning. If you don't, you just want to step out of bounds and keep on running and think you scored and you really didn't. So, but that's all I want to say. I don't think we need one, but if y'all want to appoint one, that's up to council.
I think we had done that once before. Had we not asked you
I've always thought
about
he was
doing?
kind of our technical backup anyway, but I don't know.
Mayor, and there's a book on how to conduct effective meetings.
Yeah, and I think I got that
And
one
one of
too.
the, section 9, and one, I'm not sure what section, it says, if attorney to attend parliamentary duties, said the city/town attorney shall attend all meetings of council unless excused by council. The attorney shall act as parliamentarian, propose ordinances and resolutions, review all ordinances, resolutions, documents presented to council, and give opinions on questions of procedure, form, and law to members of council. And in here it says, suggested as a local rule.
Yeah.
The town attorney is not required to attend all meetings. The council should designate a parliamentarian if one is needed.
And see, but that's not in our ordinance.
Right, that's
So
like that.
our ordinance says the attorney
He's
should do
here.
whatever those other, but it doesn't list that. And I don't know if that was
So
20 years ago they
we don't
decided-
need to appoint him because he's here.
We need to make that statement, though, it is our parliamentarian.
if we wanted to, yeah.
You know, I am your advisor, and I stand ready at any time to advise you on anything. For me to actually have the title of parliamentarian, I think they did it one time many years ago, actually called me that. But I'm certainly available, whether I'm the parliamentarian or the attorney, to basically function when and if a question ever comes up in regard to a point of order or a procedure. If somebody wants to designate me officially as a parliamentarian, I would like to at least read the rules one time again to make sure I do understand them. I'm like all the rest of them, I have a basic understanding of Robert rules, but Artie's right, I'm no expert in Robert's Rules of Order. On the other hand, I have always functioned as your advisor and always functioned in regard to when there has been a question of order that council needed an answer to. I've always been the person they look to for the advice on what to do. And I've always advised as best I know how. If you want to call me a parliamentarian, that's fine. Or if you want to just continue to call me a city attorney, with understanding that's part of my responsibilities, it's fine by me. It's a title's nice, but I mean, it's the same thing either way, probably.
Now, you don't get paid more if we...
And Mr. Glassmar pointed out, there's no more money there.
Sure. But I do think as part of my responsibilities, I am supposed to provide you with advice in regard to procedures when and if a question ever arises.
And legal, so that would be a legal.
I think that's part of my duties now. At least I've always considered it that.
I'm fine with that. And I think it was good for the council to, reiterate that you were the person that we would look to if we have a disagreement, that there's a neutral party there that can say, hey guys, slow down, take a breath, and let's look at it this way.
And of course, again, my advice is simply that. It's advice. Nobody's bound by it. It's always the will of council. When you folks meet as a body, you actually are the personification of the town of Irmo. So it's the majority of the 5 of you basically decides how we're going to do things. If you have a parliamentarian or a town attorney, either one, and I tell you how I think it ought to be, you are free to ignore it by majority vote.
But if you're a parliamentarian and someone assumes that what you're saying is correct, then I don't know. That's the only part, like I say, you need to read that. And I think more than anything that we have is probably the...
What's your point? You said somebody assumes it's correct. Well, your sentence.
If somebody assumes that what he is saying is correct because he's parliamentarian, then we may move down the wrong direction anyway. We may take that advice not knowing it's incorrect, and then it doesn't accomplish anything better. But the short of what I was going to say too is, as far as the most important thing I think we can do, myself included, is when it says in our ordinance that we're to have a certain decorum, or whatever you call it, and not interrupt. And I think that probably starts anything where we all do. And sometimes it's very intentional, and other time it's very, we want to address something somebody said right now while I'm thinking about it type thing. But then again, that's part of debate too, I think. I mean, you just kind of live with that. If it gets a little bit out of line, then I might gravel the thing or gavel the thing, but if it's not, then, I think sometimes people know when somebody's about through and then they start talking, so that's fine. Technically, whoever makes the motion should be the one to talk first, whoever seconds it should go next. And then I look to the other people and then the mayor, the presiding officer, is supposed to go last. But, I don't necessarily always do that either. But then again, that's probably a parliamentary rule, but. So anyway, we're back to the appointment. We have Mr. Moore. You ready to vote? Any discussion? Any more discussion? Then all in favor of Mr. Moore as the official parliamentarian, with the option of coming back a month later whenever we meet again and saying, wait a minute guys, I don't know about this or whatever. Do so with show of hands.
Well, all right, first of all, this question. There was a motion, was there a motion for an appointment?
We don't really have to on an appointment. They're just appointed and then we vote on it. And again, I could be wrong. But I think before, we've had appointments like on Oak Street where we just appointed people and voted on them. Went through the 1, 2, 3, 4, and
Ask the parliamentarian.
He hadn't read the
He ain't the person for the next meeting.
There certainly has been either a motion or at least acquiescence in the discussion as to what would happen.
but
Doesn't require a motion.
for an appointment, it doesn't, because anybody can appoint whoever they want to, and then we can vote
There's
them
been
up or
a
down.
request for appointment, and a vote was taken until somebody said,
Right.
wait a minute. It's fine by me if they want to make me officially a parliamentarian, that's fine. I don't mind that. I'm happy to do it. Okay.
So we had, all in favor was 4, all opposed, me, for 41. Next item is presentation by citizens. This is for anyone who wants to address council, whether it's on our agenda or not on our agenda, may do so. All we ask is you give it your name and address for the record. Anyone who wants to address council.
Judge Moore, as your official new parliamentarian. Please, if you haven't seen Irmo Elementary School,
Right.
please ride by and look at the hill. The trees went in today. The junipers are supposed to go in tomorrow. I just would like to thank everybody for all the support and help and blessings and everything else that's taken place over there. I talked with the principal and the assistant principal today, and they could not be any more appreciative. We're going to do the poster contest winners hopefully at the next council meeting and give the prizes. But the thing is just dropped dead gorgeous, and I couldn't be any more excited than I am right now. I'm just, please look at it if you get a chance. You will like it.
Looks great.
It does look good.
Thank you, Jake.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's on the Lake Murray Boulevard side.
It's the hill behind the school, yes. It actually runs the whole block. It starts at Lake Murray Boulevard and goes all the way over to Fork Avenue, down the whole hill. It's trees, and tomorrow with the junipers come, supposedly. It's going to be junipers and trees. And there's now some landscaping. It's not perfect, but it's so much better than it was.
And anyone else who'd like to address council? Seeing none, we have no executive session. Next item is adjournment, and is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? And Merry Christmas. Anyway, what?
Happy Hanukkah.